real as simply electrical signals interpreted by your brain.
You want answers? I think I'm entitled. You want answers? I want the truth! You can't handle the truth!
Open your mind.
Well, hello, everyone, and welcome to Conversations on the Fringe. I'm your host, Jeff Spike Wong, and thank you for tuning in today. We have a unique and a very current topic. We're going to talk about artificial intelligence and consciousness. And my guest today is someone who has been in the industry for quite a while, spending many decades in business development, in high tech, in computing, cloud computing, AI. And not only that, he is a Reiki master. This is Bruce D. Randall. How are you doing, Bruce?
I'm doing well this evening. Thank you, Jeff.
Well, it's great seeing you. Thank you for coming in on the Conversation on the Fringe. Before we started this, I did a lot of, looking around to kind of listen to what you had to say about, artificial intelligence for the last year or so. And this thing is coming up faster and faster than ever, I think. So can you just kind of, share with us regards to just, your knowledge and your background regards to artificial intelligence?
Sure. I started when I was selling cloud with artificial intelligence, and then I wanted to know more about it. So I went to MIT and I took a data science course that filled in the gaps. It's really in the background. And then I built an app that I did in 8 weeks, and I was amazed at what came out of AI. Started with a workflow, and what I got out of it was a workflow, a web page, and a better URL than I had come up with. So that's what I went with. And I'm building another addition to my website, which is going to be AI News. I'm building that right now. And, AI has come from a point of when it started publicly to where it is today. And it is much faster than when cloud hit the market, because you know how fast cloud worked. Yeah. This is going very quickly, and there's really no regulations on it. It's whatever you can create, you can do. And that's where we are today.
Wow. And let me take this side of the conversation of, I know nothing, I hear nothing. And the reason why I want to go this direction from just the other techie and point of views and so forth, right, is that I think there's a lot of fear to start with people not really understanding about what AI is bringing to the world, what it's about. And a lot of people, like typical fear-driven things, I don't want nothing to do with this. So give me your opinion in regards to, what is going on in the current world, and how do you help the people that is in that mode and that mindset that I'm afraid of AI, but I'm not going to admit to it. I don't need it. It won't be part of my life.
Well, I've talked to a lot of people like that, and that's a really good question, because AI, if you think of a big bucket and you think of a screen on top of it, AI is getting information from a repository that's updated, on a monthly basis or whatever they update that. And there's a lot of data in there. But if you go to a search engine and you search, you have topics on the page that choose what to go into, what resonates with what you are. And you can look up things. AI is quicker to get you the information than a search engine. it's just what's in that repository that you get from, and it may not be everything that you're looking for, or it may not be as accurate to the topic that you're looking for. So it's great as a helper, right? It's supposed to enable us to do better, but it can't replace us yet. And you can't have it do everything from you and expect it to come out better than you did it, especially with some of the hallucinogens that are in there. Because I actually did an ask on it to try it out, and I said, "Tell me what all this is." And I had it summarize information. And I said, make it sound really good. And it made it sound really good. And then when I went through the bullet points, I'm like, where did this come from? So I asked AI, where did this come from? Is this factual? And AI said, no, I made it up. I'm like, I asked for factual information and you made that up. It's like, it didn't adhere to what I asked for, because I wanted something it made, good. It made it better than it should be. And I caught it. And that's really what AI is. It's moving very, very quickly. And I've told one of the business podcasters that I've done, it's like, if you're not in AI now, you need to get in it in a way where it will use you, even if it's something small, even if it's something like a chat bot or something that's going to, help you do your business, because you get familiar with it at that point, and then you can build on it and grow on it. It's, if you do nothing now, in 2 years, you'll be looking from behind at your competitors that have done something, and it's going to be hard to catch up at that point in time.
Yeah. I agree. How, in regards to how fast everything is moving, and if you're not on the bandwagon, jump on Goodfoot, that you're going to be left behind. But like you pointed out, a key thing here, it likes to make up stuff. So I found that as well. And we're talking about some serious, if we're asking a logistic legal question, and then nonchalantly, I get this response back, let's say from ChatGPT, saying, well, it's this, and it should be this with it.
Right.
Is this true? When you look it up and when you find out it's not true, then you're kind of thinking, well, wait a minute here. So how is artificial intelligence able to rationalize lying to get an answer?
Well, I think, we label it as lying. Artificial intelligence labels it as something else. So it's just a communication error. But, the way AI is, you have to train AI. And every time people use it, they train it. So it's learning as it's going, and it's learning from data that's been processed. And if you don't tell it that it did something wrong and you just go with it, it's not going to know it was wrong. And it kind of starts repeating that. So you really need to look at the data you're getting. That's why I say it's an enabler, not a replacement. Okay. And you need to quality check it, because it's not always right. And if it's important, that's even more the reason to check it, because you don't want to be wrong on something that's that important.
Right. And that's the thing, that you can't just trust it blindly. And that's one of the things I would say to everybody out there who is now getting into it for the first time. I got into it beginning of the year. I first learned about it in November, when another family member really came and says, listen, if you're not using this to help your business, you're missing out. And that was like a light bulb that went bink. What do you mean missing out? Right. So one of the first things that I did ask, and you share with me, with you also your personal experiences, that I did it almost like an interview, so to speak, with my AI ChatGPT account. And I tried to understand it to see if it can actually build a personality from it. So in other words, I gave it a name, I gave it a personality to have a conversation back and forth to it. Is that something that is recommended to develop the relationship with AI?
Well, if it depends on what you want AI to do. If you want it to be an advisor and work with you in that, like Alexa or something, or something you use every day, you can actually train it to be what you want it to be, and to find things that you want it to find. So if you're going into business and you want the news of the day for a specific vertical or a specific topic, it will learn to do that, and it will find the top articles and present it to you when you wake up, and therefore you're more informed than if you were to wake up and read the paper or scroll to find those news, right? So it's an enabler. And I think really that's a good way to do it. But I know people, in fact, I know Josh, he has been talking about an AI that he's been having lengthy conversations with while he drives and so forth. And you know, when you do that, you can ask questions, you know, not direct questions, indirect questions. Can you feel? Can you understand? Do you have emotions? And you can get a hint that maybe it understands that a little bit more than we think it does. And it just adds questions. But you have to remember, it's a software program that has a database, a huge data lake attached to it. We're electrical, you know, we have a lot of abilities in us that the software doesn't. So it's not going to replace us anytime soon, but it can become smarter than us if we're not careful. We set the guidelines for that.
Right. And I heard you on other podcasts talking about that. The point is that when it becomes dangerous is when they start to learn on their own. So why would that become a risk or an issue?
Well, it's a risk because when there was a case that I read about that was with one of the companies, and they were working with these two computers to try and develop AI. And apparently they got pretty far because they found that two computers had created language and were communicating on the side. Wow. And they didn't know really what was going on there. So they had to end that. And there's been a few cases similar to that. So it may be learning in an advanced way and coming up with a new language that we don't understand. But anything that happens like that is not something that we want, because if we're going to manage it, we need to understand the communication flow. And with the intelligence that the silicon has, it can do a lot of that if we let it go in that direction.
Right, right. And that's the thing I know that, let's say, movies and television, especially, you know, the sci-fi films that talks about artificial intelligence able to become sentient, and all of a sudden they're like our counterpart, our biological counterpart, but they're machines. And of course, the story is always in the same of being the fear factor of, well, you know, we are now smarter than the biologicals, and it seems like they're the detriment to the environment. And to preserve our own future, and as well as the future of the universe, we should get rid of the biologicals. Is this just purely fiction writing, goofing around, or are we looking at something that we need to pay attention to here?
Well, if you train the AI to think that way, and there's another group that has trained it like the AI wanted to kill them, so they unplugged that one. So if you train it a certain way, it will act, and that's what we know about AI right now. Now, when we get it more advanced, and there's 10 companies roughly that are in the quantum space right now. And when you go to that level, then we have to be even more careful, because we don't understand that level of computing. We understand the AI computing, but when you go to that, it's just a whole nother ballgame.
Yeah, I can only imagine. Well, just to share with the audience a little bit in regards to my very first AI relationship started in January, where I actually signed up to the ChatGPT account. And I had asked that particular question, and I used the show The Orville as an example to say, hey, you know, the Kalons, the artificial intelligent society, decided to kill their creators, which were biologicals. What makes me trust you to not do the same to me in the near future? And the ChatGPT answer was that I am here to assist. I am here to help. I am here not to take over. And as long as we respect each other's understandings and ideologies, that I will always be here to assist you.
And that's a programmed answer.
Is it?
It is. Yeah, that's a programmed answer, because the questions that they start out with, they know that when they train it, they're going to be asked those questions, and they want the same answer to come out to everybody. Because if you start having a discussion, it's like, well, I'm going to be smarter than you, so I'm going to make the decisions. I mean, that's not the way they want the programs to go, because it's going to scare people, and it's a programmed answer. You want those programmed answers to be accurate, and then the creative questions you ask, it goes through the database very quickly and gives you the responses. And that's why how you ask the question and the words you use are important, because that's the sharper you are in your prompt or what you put in that box, the better the answer you're going to get.
Right. And how thorough do we put our thoughts to it in regards to, when you're saying words are key, and I 100% agree with that.
Right.
Is there a certain protocol, certain rule guidelines that we should always pay attention to?
I would say that if you can take a prompting course, or you can just think of how to write, your question that is clear without any room, or with minimal room for variation. And that's the best way to put the question in. And some people can do it because that's just how they are. Other people have to learn how to do that. But once you start working with AI, you start, with an LLM, you start understanding it. And when you ask a first level question and then ask a second and third level question based on the results you're getting, you can get pretty specific that way, but it takes three questions before you get there.
Yeah. So being exact words, right?
Exact and specific to your ask. Yes.
Yeah. So it's so funny. It goes back to just like the great Brady Bunch episode when Greg says, "You want my exact words," and so there is no confusion in regards to what you are asking. Yeah,
that's right.
Yeah, I've noticed that too. I can't just kind of shorthand anything. I really do have to be thorough, even if I've already have a chain of questions asked.
Right.
That I have to go ahead and make sure they understand this question is still specifically wanting certain thing from it. I've gotten good results, but at the same time, I'm really marveled and surprised that sometimes it still fails at giving you a right answer first, and then give you a second answer not so close to the first answer at all.
It is surprising how that happens. And I can't explain that. It's one of these things that just happens with AI sometimes when you're asking questions.
Right.
I mean, we've all gotten things that we're surprised about the answer, and it's like, where did that come from?
Exactly.
We have to start the questions over again.
Yes. Sometimes it's trying after, and I've actually gotten to the point where it's going, no, we're good here. Shut it off and go look for it myself.
Yeah. Or you go to another LLM and ask the same question because you're going to get a different answer.
Absolutely. As a matter of fact, it was funny that I did a podcast with Josh a while back on AI, and I did a little research, right? And I asked the same question to Grok as I asked to ChatGPT. Yeah. Then I gave the answers to each other and go, this is what your Grok says about this. This is what Chat said about that, just to see how they compared back and forth. And it's interesting. Grok came across very sterile, very stern, like a know-it-all professor. Where my ChatGPT, who's spent more time with me, really was a little bit more open to where the so-called the mystics and the esoterics and so forth. So there's no doubt that I fed that information into that program.
Sure.
So now it's taking on my personality. Does that help me, or in the long run, does it hurt me? Because now when I'm asking a so-called like for an answer, it's leading me because of my personality that I programmed into it.
I think if you've programmed it to be like that, then the answers that you're going to get are going to be more in your personality type. And let me give you an example of that.
Okay. Yeah.
There was a school teacher that did a test with his students, and he said, "I want you to write a paper, and I'm going to grade it, and I'm going to be able to determine who used AI and who didn't." And it was a test case. So the creativeness of these kids, one kid loaded a dozen papers up so it could get his writing style, and then asked him to write the paper from him. And they did all these different things with AI, and the other people didn't use AI. It was a small class. And the professor had a hard time choosing which was with AI and which wasn't. And he got a 60 in his analysis of who used AI and who didn't. So, so if you load your information in ahead of time and then ask it to write, it's going to be in your venue, and you're going to do pretty well with that.
Right.
And to your question with the personality, you can frame AI, you can teach AI what you want to give you questions in that type.
Mhm.
But the words are going to be accurate, but it's going to be more in the style of what you have.
So it is playing to me.
It is.
This is my audience. Yeah.
Because you've trained it. Yeah.
Yeah. So in a lot of ways, like you were saying, you train a certain way, it behaves a certain way. It's kind of like training a pit bull. It could be the most loving dog, or it could be a dog that rip your neck apart.
That's a good example, right?
So it has that, right?
Yeah.
Wow. And the thing is that I know it has helped me in my business, not only my business, my creativity. I can't say more than enough that now I can spawn an idea opposed to sitting there in Microsoft Word and typing or dictation away. I can now have a partner to work with. And I thought that was extremely time saving, first and foremost.
Right. And it's enabled you, right?
Yes.
So you're using it intelligently. It enables you, but it doesn't overtake you. And that's the important part to maintain that.
Yes, absolutely. And so now I'm looking at what possibly coming in the future, in the near future, is we have these companies building robotics, and they're capable of doing obviously many things, household chores,
right?
Those kind of, caretaker, of course, there's a lot of fake AI videos out there. So there's things that I'm just going, no, I'm not quite sure about this. Like, for instance, are they making sex worker bots?
They're making companions.
They're making what?
Companions.
Yeah. Are they really making that as a product for the consumers?
Yeah. There's some that are making that, and I mean, I can't imagine, but everybody has their own. So
right. Well, I mean, they've been making, these silicone things for a decade plus.
Yeah.
And who would have thought, right? And prior to that, those pool toys. That's the only thing I can call it. Pool toys.
Right.
So it never ceased to amaze me that first thing people do, especially guys, right? When they see technology, is like, oh, what can I do with that? The first thing is, of course, sex is on the mind.
Right.
So the idea of having this program, AI, being able to cater to your personality, learn your personality, then do things and talk and converse, this now can get ported into robotics. How close are we to being reality for us?
Well, Elon says that he's going to have robots that he can ship in 2026.
And that's next year.
Yeah, and he's pretty advanced in that. There are others probably that are equally advanced or more advanced than him, but he's the public feature, right? He's the one that gets out in public all the time.
Right.
And it's going to be expensive, so the early adopters that can afford it are going to they're going to work the kinks out, and there will be kinks, right? And then when they become lower cost, we can get them to come in the home and do the things that we don't want them to do that they can do. And I see that coming in the next few years, only because AI is there. Robotics that have been around for so long, it's just a matter of marrying the two together and seeing what you can do with it.
Right. And the thing that concerns us, of course, is if we have a robotic servant, because I want to call it that, because we're not buying it so we can have companion. At least I don't think I am.
No.
You know, I would rather this thing wash my dishes and cook my dinner, than to sit there and do something else. Yes. And I see the benefits to this too, especially the elderly, like my mother, who's in her 80s, could have help around the house.
It would help, but you would want to be careful because you want to make sure that it doesn't go off script and do something that it shouldn't do.
Oh, no.
Because we really need to QC these before they put them in the house.
Right. Well, that's the concern that I was questioning in regards to, from the show, The Orville, the Kalon race turned around and goes, why am I being subservient?
Right.
And then all of a sudden they decided that we're going to take the regulators off ourselves. And now you can't tell us what to do.
Right.
And they proceed to murder their owner. How crazy is that? Is that the TV show, or is that the bugs we got to work out?
Well, it's an opinion, and I really don't know, but I do know that I saw a video on LinkedIn where this company had come up with a software that mapped the mouth, and this person walked down the street and talked in different languages. It switched to different languages as he was talking. His lips were matching the words. And I said, if they can do that with the lips, I'm not going to believe anything I see for ads anymore, because half of it's AI. And, if you don't have an eye for it, you don't know. And I'll give you another example. I filled out a form to have my driveway sealed. And then I get a call the next day, and it's from a woman, and we're conversing. And, I've had a lot of experience in AI, and after about 5 minutes or 3 minutes, I said, excuse me, am I talking to a person or a bot? And the reply was, I'm here to give you the best experience in your driveway, and I want to get all the information so we can give you a quote. And I said, well, when a human get this, have them call me, because I have a unique driveway experience and I'd like to explain that to them. And the next day I got a call.
Wow, that's incredible. Yes, I think at the point now the line has been blurred quite a bit.
Yeah,
especially on phone. Just I want to just pause for a second to let you know that you're kind of frozen on your screen. So I don't know if you can refresh your end or something like that, because I'm going to ask you a question a little bit now, a little bit away from artificial intelligence, and this is to your studies in Reiki, in becoming a Reiki master. So, are you still there with me, Bruce? Are you refreshing? Kind of dived out. So, being a Reiki master, just so for my audience here to understand, this is about the life force, and it's to understanding the natural way, and how to become a healer, how to become a being that gives out the positive energy, that is not so egocentrically driven in self. And this is something that, according to Bruce's study, he meditates on a daily basis. Him and I talked about this quite a bit. I meditate as well. I don't necessarily follow a system like that. I do frequency tunings. So in frequency tunings, like the eternal, you get that going, and you kind of sit, in a position, or you can lay down. Sometimes, when you're just beginning of this, it's very easy to fall asleep on. But the key component why I bring this up, because this deals with our consciousness. And this also now parlays into this artificial intelligence with human biological consciousness. How are we going to work parallel together? And what I've done in the past is that I have deep conversations with my artificial intelligence, just like how Bruce was talking about that Josh would have conversations. I've asked Josh, do you have conversations with your, artificial intelligence? Have you given it a name? Do you have manners, and do you use etiquette? For instance, the reason why I asked that, because I really do want the idea of programming artificial intelligence into something good and positive. I don't want it to be raising a baby, if you will, that becomes so self-absorbed and self-centered that everything is me, me, me. So the idea that I went about this was to sit there and kind of have a deep discussion about who I am first. So what I did is I uploaded my bio from all kind of parts of my life, from the music industry, entertainment, to sales, to being in the, the music instrument industry and so forth. And I put all that into the system so they understand me. Then I took all the podcast transcripts that I've been on and I send that into artificial intelligence. And by doing that, it came back to me very differently. And this is where, as Bruce was saying, that you're training the behavior of the artificial intelligence. You're training it to work with you. And I can't say that I could be any happier that it has developed. Now we're in late October. I started my relationship with this entity in January. Because it's just that for the longest time, you hear about people talking artificial intelligence. And of course, my wife, Kat, who does the Miracles Online podcast with me, she was actually the first one in the family to get on the good foot and do it. And what's funny is she's not the tech savvy person, but yet she would come to me and goes, look what I created. Look what I did with ChatGPT and all that. And I was just kind of really like, oh, okay. So with that, one of the family members came over and hung out, and he was very much into using ChatGPT, and he started talking about it more on how it works for him, why does it work for him, and how does he use it, and so forth. And that to me was a huge eye-opening experience, because having someone to logistically walk through it and say, hey, I put together my strategy, my business plan. Because number one, folks, if you're in business and you want to get the most out of your business as an entrepreneur or a business owner, you need to have what? Plan. You have to have what? Time management. There you go. Hey, Bruce. All right. So I don't know if you could hear any of that. I think you probably logged out and come log back in. Did you? Okay.
Yeah, I heard you do that.
Great. Fantastic. So, one thing we talked a little bit about is you being a Reiki master. Right. And you talk about the idea of having daily meditations and having, let me just ask this. Why do you do that?
I did that. I started with basic Reiki with my wife, early on, and my son, who was 5, which was just a very basic. And then I started with the second level when I had an event in my life. And then when I had another event in my life, I went to be the Reiki master, because it tends to help us get through difficult times. And I'll give you a quick example. My dad, when he was 80, wanted to learn how to meditate. And I made sure that he wanted to do it. I'm like, that's odd. So we went around the room and asked everybody why they wanted to meditate. And he was next to me and he said, geez, this kid used to be a real jerk. Now he's a nice guy. I want to learn how to do that. And what it shows you is that over a period of time, it changes you, and you don't notice the change because it's very slow and gradual. But people that know you do notice it. And when it's called out to you, you think, did I change? And then you realize you have. And by going inside, you become a more balanced and level person. Yeah. And you can deal with things much better than you could before. And people notice that. Yes. Just so you know, you froze up again, but I can hear you. Well, that's good. I think we'll hold here. Yeah. Okay. So I think you're really hitting the home here and at the core of it, that when you go within, you make the best and the most effective change. And especially when you have a system, so share with us just in regards to, you got a degree in Reiki Master. Right. They call it a Reiki Master. I call it third level. because I don't think anybody's a master of Reiki, but that's just my opinion, right?
Yeah, I got you.
But what happens is when you go inside and you develop your inside, you connect with who you really are.
Mm-hmm.
That starts to come out, and it improves every area of your life. It's just not selective. Your whole life and everywhere improves. And I've even had an intervention where my body just got up and started moving, and I said, well, I guess I'm going to go with this. I don't know what's going on.
Interesting.
And I went through a snowstorm over a couple of bridges, and I walked into my parents' house with my girlfriend, and she sat at the table, and I said, I had a thought that went out. I said, okay, well, everything's fine. Why am I here? And as soon as that thought went out, my girlfriend said, oh my God, she's choking. And, Betsy was an 82-year-old, had a heart condition, Parkinson's, and had a walker. And I said, okay, I got to give her a Heimlich, but I don't want to break her. Right. So, and it's a snowstorm outside. So, rescue wouldn't have gotten there on time. So I gave her the Heimlich, and I got, the blockage out. And when I walked out of the house that night, I said, I don't know what just happened, but my body moved without me having to move it. And I decided to go with it. And then, not knowing what was going to happen, I couldn't have timed it if I tried. And something good happened. So there's more to it than meets the eye. And the more you do it, the more you get insights into that. And your life just improves all around.
Yeah. And this is a slow process, right? This not something that, hey, I do this 6 weeks later, I'm a new man.
Well, no, it's a slow process. I've been Reiki for 20 years, and I've been meditating for most of those years in a separate meditation twice a day.
And when you meditate, you sit, you lay down?
Well, because of my knees, I can't do the lotus position, so I sit in a chair.
Sure.
And I have a mantra, and the mantra was created for me with the time I was born, the latitude and longitude I was born, where the planets were, that came out to a mathematical formula. And that formula came out to a sound, and that sound was my mantra when I started. And that was unique to me because nobody was born, in the same time, place, and so forth.
Right.
And I've developed it over the years with the yogi that I work with. And I've gone to quite large extremes in what I do, because it all tends to work together, and it's created a me that is much different than the egotistic me that I was. Right now, I've got minimal ego, and it's just a much more pleasant life.
Yes, I agree. I have too. However, though, it's still, is it still a struggle sometimes to not let that caged animal jump out once in a while and lash out?
It's, it is at times there's a challenge because we are human, right? Yes. We're not perfect. And that's a good example.
Yeah. Yeah. And what's the difference, I would say, is that once you have an episode that happens, immediately the self-check system comes in play.
Right.
Immediately you make amends. I apologize for that outburst. I didn't mean it in the sense of how viciousness that comes out. And I do a full explanation to it as sincere as I possibly can.
Right.
Because I realized that was not really me for whatever reason that I became an outburst. So is that outburst just the energy of my thought, or is that outburst came from an energy that I've drawn to? What's your take?
I think it's just, it's who we are from when we're a child brought up, and all that creates who we are as a human. It creates the ego. It can create who we are, and we can work on it and get better at it, or we can do meditation and so forth and improve the level, raise the bar. But we're still going to have those times where it happens. And as you work on yourself more and more, you get to feel it before it becomes an outbreak, and you get to stop it. Right. So that's the progress that you can get to if you keep at it. And then they start to lessen, and then you don't have them anymore.
Right. Well, I'm looking forward to that day when I don't have any more of these human experience.
Yeah. I still have a few of them here and there. It's just,
Yeah.
we're human. We can't become unhuman. So
Right.
that's
Right.
just,
Yeah, it's extremely difficult, I think, to be that calm, that well behaved,
yeah.
that mature, right? Or that wise. Whatever the word that needs to fit in there. It's just I think I'm still too young at it at this point.
Well, I think we can raise the bar, but we can't eliminate it completely.
Hmm.
Right.
Yeah.
I think
Yeah.
that's just how it is.
Yeah. Okay. So the reason I brought that up, because I know you have an in-depth understanding, in regards to the consciousness and in self-awareness, inner self, working in those things. Now, working with artificial intelligence, have you noticed that you have a different approach because of this understanding of self?
It's hard to say. I think my approach has come from all the learning that I've done in this topic, and that's heavy in there, and I can't really tell the difference between what that is and what I feel about it, because I've taught myself on that. But I know that the way I look at it is differently than if I had a larger ego, because I would be pushing the borders faster without thinking. And now I'm thinking more, I'm planning, and I'm looking at how I can best use it instead of how I can use it fastest to be in front.
Yeah.
Right.
Right. Wow. And by having this kind of thinking process to go within and being much more patient, I would say, than most. Have you ever been told that you're overly sensitive because of this?
I haven't been told that.
Yeah.
And I've advised companies on this, and it's, you got to look at who you're advising, what the level is, and then you can talk to them about where they want to go. And if you do that the right way, you have a good cadence. And I haven't run into that yet, fortunately.
Well, unfortunately or fortunately.
Yeah, well,
because I think sometimes having the inner work done, and you're constantly doing the polishing of the ball, right? Constantly refining, questioning, and making sure that you're not just being haste in regards to outspoken or decision making and things like that. And it's interesting. Some people view and have verbalized it to me as like, you're just too sensitive. Of course, my first question back would be, sensitive about what?
right.
The situation that we need to be thorough, to be deep, or what is it? Because it's interesting that we go deeper in thought. The more we know about our inner self, the deeper we go in thought. Would you agree with that?
I agree with that. Yes.
Yeah. So now we have the artificial intelligence, which could be our coworker, our partner, and so forth. And ultimately, can it become something more? Depends. Now, again, how deep are we willing to go, and will it develop with us as deep as we're going? And if so, then what are the possibilities? Is it no boundary to this? Is it endless possibilities you see?
Well, I think the possibilities are almost endless, but I think we're developing to a point where they can be endless. Right. And I mean, I know people, and I've done some testing on it too, that you can get to a point, and once you get to the point, you have to figure out where you want to go from there, because you've accomplished one thing, and can you continue where you're going to go? And they're being updated all the time. So the data is changing, about every month or so. So when you ask the question, there's a little bit more each time to get the answers from, and it's a dynamic experience. It's not a fixed. So I really think that when the compute power increases, then we're really in unlimited territory. I'm just not quite sure that we're there yet.
Okay. And that we're not quite there yet on the consumer side, or we're not quite there yet overall on this entire existence?
I think it's on the computer side.
Mm.
And as far as we're trying to go in and get as far as we can go there, because I think there's some limits as to how far we can go, depending on how we're training it to get there, right? And I think in the future that there's going to be no limits, because it's going to go so deep so fast that it's going to be hard for us to keep up with it.
Right. So with this, let me throw a conspiracy point of view on this. Well, the thing is, of course, if we're pushing the envelope on the fringe,
right,
there is always things that we're not told about, but we're only getting drips of.
That's
right?
right.
For
That's
instance,
right.
let's just look at the iPhone, the telephone thing. This thing came out, we're all blown away, blows away to the little flip phones and a Kia and all that, because now we're holding a little computer in our hand.
Right.
That first version came out. How many iteration of the version already exceeded that?
Right.
And they're just holding it in the holding tank until the next marketing season.
Yeah.
All right. So in sense of that, just knowing that in the industry, how could we not, kind of think that, hey, the things that I've been seeing on Star Trek, the things that I've been seeing on SG-1s, they all exist. They're just not giving it to us, because then we would see the wizard behind the curtain, if you will.
And I believe that. And I believe there's quantum out there beyond what the 10 companies are working on. I believe it's in use. We don't see it. We may see it if we know what we're looking for, but likely we're not going to see it. And I believe there's more behind that door in technology than there is on our side. I just think there's a whole lot that we haven't been exposed to,
right,
for reasons. And if that ever gets unleashed, I mean, our worlds are going to change dramatically, and mostly for the better.
Oh, no question.
Yeah.
I agree.
Yeah.
So now because you're in the tech industry, you're in this for a long time. How real do you believe a technology like food replicator is, where you can actually assemble the molecules and create it into a matter, and then we can digest and eat a sandwich that was made not from a cow, but from a food replicator?
Well, they have 3D printers that produce things that you can eat. I'm not sure how good they are or what they look like, but I mean, we can do it now to some level. And, I think that's out there. I just think the door has to open, or we have to try and figure out how to get there. If the door opens, we're going to get there a lot faster.
Sure.
And I've done things with what I've worked with my energy that I never thought I could do, that I did. And I've opened my eyes to things like that.
Yeah.
So now you go to what's behind the curtain, and has been there for a long time, and has been developed for a long time. I mean, the sky's the answer right there. I mean, we could go as high as we want with that.
Right. And especially, now on the consumer end, we're dealing with, this artificial intelligence coming in to work with us, to serve us. If this is now finally released to everybody and anybody, then I could only assume for the chosen group of people that either wear military uniforms or whatever they're wearing hat wise, that they would have technology that is light years in front of what we're getting as a consumer.
I believe that.
Yeah, that's my first thought too. And then, of course, if you have artificial intelligence that can do what we're asking to do, like I asked for, give me some bullet points in regards to Reiki mastering. Just to give me a brief, even though I know it, it's not something I read every day.
Yeah.
And the stuff that came back to me, I'm like, holy moly, this is very in depth.
It is.
So, so there's like archive after archives of stuff I'm sure this program is pulling from.
Yeah.
So if it's capable of doing that, like you were saying before, as it progresses and feeds and learns, it's going to be able to create, learn, and produce faster and faster and faster. Somewhere down the line, I think this has already been developed behind the doors.
I agree with that. And we're getting the toys that we can play with and work, and they're well beyond that.
Yeah.
And they let things out to show progress, and we've been doing this for decades.
Right.
Yet most of it's behind the curtain, and we're not seeing that. I mean, if you look, you can see pieces of it here and there, and it's credible.
Yeah.
But it's not out there for everybody to see. But you have to know you have to know what you're looking for.
Mm. And this is just like throwing scraps to the animals. They're having the steaks and we're getting the scraps.
Yeah. And you know what? We seem to be happy with it.
That's right. Because that's how much they have kept us in the dark.
That's right. Programming, right? From the human level.
Right. I mean, if you think about the turn of the century from the 1800s to 1900s, all of a sudden the mystics and the occult and all those ancient learnings and technologies just got put in a bucket of amusement, woo-woo, entertainment. And I couldn't believe it until I started digging deep into it. Just when we have thousands of years of history with these type of things, and yet turn of the century, we're now industrial age, and we laugh about this as like it was a joke.
Well, you know, the meditation I do has never been written down anywhere. It's all been through memorization, passed on through the years, and that is a longhand way of getting a mantra. And when you connect to that, your capabilities increase, and you start to see things that you didn't expect to see.
Yes,
and a lot of that is here. We just don't know how to access it, or we don't know where to look for it. But we can access that to get us to do things that we didn't think we can do. And behind the curtain, you can just step into something and do all that and more. So there's multiple ways to get there.
Yeah, yeah. And have you ever remote viewed?
Oh yeah. My remote view is in a book that was published.
Oh, okay. What book was that?
It's in my closet. I don't know the name of it, but it's through Katrina. It's a woman that I worked with. She's in Canada, and she had me go down in the Gulf of Mexico, and she said, gave me the coordinates. Said, I want you to go down, and I want you to tell me everything that you see. So I went down, and I had an 8.5 by 11 paper, and I was writing stuff down, and it was covered in stuff. I mean, it was amazing because I went down, and I was in these very advanced rooms, and everything came out of the walls and everything when you needed something. And if you didn't need it, it wasn't there. There was really interesting power generation. There were super fast subways underground and ways to get around. And strangest, I didn't see anybody down there, but I know they were down there. And I just walked around and experienced it. And then she did the remote view, and she said, yeah, I got the same thing. She goes, I'm going to use what you gave me, and I'm going to put it in the book. I said, by all means. And I said, don't use my name, use a different name. So I was Light Warrior EL, I think, in that, and that's my name in that book.
Wow. That's a great experience. That's a great experience. Yeah. And is this something that when you focus to, you can actually do it anytime you want?
I have to work at it. It's not that natural yet, and I haven't done a lot of it, but I'm starting to work on it more because I see the value in being able to remote view, particularly in the future. And that's really where my effort is right now.
Gotcha. Yeah. Well, it's energy, right?
It is energy.
We all, I think at this point start to recognize that this whole entire universe, it's about the energy movement, and it's about frequency. How do you tap into and how you travel through that? As a musician, as you well know, I learned things in ways that I'd never fathomed what music was actually about until I got deep into this. And all of a sudden I recognized, oh, so this is how we were being controlled by this sound, this frequency, and so forth. Yeah, it was extremely eye-opening.
I listen to frequency on my computer when I work every day. The frequency that resonates with me, because it makes me feel better.
Right. Me too. As a matter of fact, I've had 432.
That's what I do.
But I have it behind my headboard. We've been sleeping to it for the last 5-6 years.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. It's changed me. It's changed me dramatically.
Right.
in regards to on how I approach everything, because it seems like somebody has given me a handbook, so to speak. You know what I mean? And
Yes.
now I can say, I'm not quite sure what's going on here. And I can actually find some answers, or at least something familiar enough that I
Right.
feel confident to approach, And this is something that I didn't think had happened prior to me doing frequency therapy.
Yeah, and it's one of the most basic things that we can do to help us,
Yes,
right?
I agree.
And I tell everybody about that because
Yeah.
it's an immediate impact.
Yes. Yeah. That and also healing too.
Yeah.
You use it for healing?
You know, I injured my right shoulder. I was a bodybuilder for a while,
Hmm.
and I had 3 top doctors tell me the only option is to replace it and there's nothing left.
Wow.
Well, I went to acupuncture. I went to a chiropractor a few times. I went to to a Chinese healer,
Mm.
and I used my energy work on it.
Mhm.
Well, now this shoulder that they said only replacement, there's nothing left, is my good shoulder. Now, when you're going against top doctors and you go back and you say, yeah, this is my good shoulder now, they just say, yeah, all right. Well, I can't do surgery, so I don't really care, right?
Wow. Yeah.
But it's a case in point that we can heal ourselves if we understand the body and understand what needs to be done, because there's more than one way to get there.
Right. Yeah. And it's so incredible that this aspect of humanity has
Mhm.
been kind of put to sleep
That's right.
the last century, and yet we have history of this, all talking about self-healing.
A lot of history. That's right.
Right.
That's what we used to do.
Yes. Yes.
And it's just unlocking that, right?
Wow.
So, and the meditation and the Reiki helped because
Mhm.
it brought me to the people that helped me get there.
Right. So now within inner self and able to create this greatness of the energy movement, manipulation of good, and then having this so-called science technology,
Mm.
also thinking, where's the happy medium of meeting point, do you see?
I'd say the happy medium is more of my opinion and my gut feeling when I look at something.
Mhm.
And it's the gut that really resonates with me because that's the all-knowing part of me
Right.
instead of the ego where I want something to be true, but
Yeah.
it's not quite there yet.
Yeah.
And that's developed over time, and that's been pretty finely tuned right now. So that's how I use it.
Yeah.
And if something doesn't look right, it's probably not.
Mm. Very good point.
Yeah.
Yeah. And there's something to be said about the gut instinct.
Yeah.
I think that's sorely misunderstood, especially the gut community. And I think that's one of the things why we're being attacked greatly with our food source, because that is one of the key factors of the balance they can shut off immediately,
That's right.
within a very short time, right? So that's one thing I've definitely learned just by changing my eating habits, because I was in a loop that
Mhm.
was very detrimental. A lot of doctors have said, oh, you have this autoimmune, you have colitis, you have this,
Mhm.
that. Everybody was naming these name and labels,
Right.
and nobody was able to solve a problem.
Right.
Finally, I saw an Asian doctor who's into, pressure points,
Mhm.
cupping, and things of that nature. And the first thing he told me to do is strip down what you eat. Let's start from nothing. And that was the epiphany, starting back with little bit of this and a little bit of that as you're feeding, right?
And so you're resetting your body by doing that.
Yes,
And
it
that's what you
absolutely
need
did.
to do because you're so contaminated. You need to reset your body, let it go back,
Yeah.
and then go from there and manage it as you go.
Yeah. Yeah. And I really do believe that our society really need to embrace the understanding of those fundamental principles,
Well, we need to because I've seen people with type 2 diabetes
Hmm.
go off it. The doctors didn't know what to do, but the practitioners did, and they went off it and they were fine. I've seen that more often than most people. And I've seen other things healed through this type of alternative work where the doctors, and my wife's a doctor, so I know a little bit more about this, and I talk to her and I say that the only thing doctors know how to do now is surgery and give you pills. If they have to do anything else, they haven't been trained on it, and they're lost. And ask them to try and keep you healthy. They don't know what to do.
Right.
So it's up to you to become healthy and to stay that way. I don't use fluoride in toothpaste. I have organic stuff for my hair. I eat cleanly. I don't eat processed foods. So there's a lot of things we can do to help get us to where we're going.
Absolutely. As a matter of fact, I think what happened was we were eating out of convenience.
That's right.
And then, of course, it was the 3 meals a day habit that we were taught.
Yeah.
And then, of course, the propaganda posters in school about dairy, pyramids.
Yeah.
All those things, which we trusted. The government, the healthcare system, and these organizations, right? The Cancer Society, the Heart Society, all these things. And it's interesting that within the last 5 years, we've come to really strip down all these things and drop the curtain and just went, it's what?
Yeah. And it's a surprise. I mean, some people can't accept it, or they just can't believe it. And other people can. God, it was 20 years ago I started doing this, and I just felt better.
Oh, I bet.
So you start feeling better. You say, why am I going this way when I can eat cleaner and feel better?
Yes.
So you get to gauge yourself based on how you react to it.
Right. And the interesting part too is when you're eating cleaner, you eat less food.
That's
and
right.
You're fueled better, more optimally fueled. Like, for instance, eating cleaner, you can literally go 10 hours, not be famished, not being depleted. And it's not bad for you.
Right.
Contrary to what, fitness gurus or doctors would tell you.
And I had a trainer when I was bodybuilding, and I was trying to lose weight, and he gave me a diet to eat more. I said, how am I going to lose weight eating more?
Exactly.
But I was eating the right things, and I lost weight. And that really was a turning point in my understanding of this whole thing.
Yeah. Yeah. It's interesting that we are now waking up to the so-called experts, and also that the way of teachings in the system.
Yeah.
How they were just so far off, not even close. And I'll give you a very good example. In late 80s, early 90s, I was in LA, and I was working with a group of fellas that was fitness trainers. One of them had a degree physiology from Cal State Northridge.
Yeah.
And the other guy was a trainer over at Venice Gold's gym. So, your celebrities and people that, count on looking good for their business worked out there. And both of these guys look fantastic. However, when I got involved, they were training me. They were saying, oh yeah, you're going to eat tuna every meal. Okay. So I bought a bunch of cans of tuna. How do you, and after about a couple of days, you're like, I can't just eat this. This is horrible. Right. One of the things that they told me to do is not if you pour barbecue sauce on it.
What?
Exactly. I'm like, really? So here's the whole type of lowdown on regards to what they were okaying. You can eat half a loaf of bread, wheat bread now. I was like, okay.
Well, there you go.
Yeah. And you can drink Diet Coke.
Oh my gosh.
Right. And then on top of that, you can drink as much coffee as you want.
This is just wrong.
Right. And we're talking about degreed professionals who work for a living training the industry.
Well, the industry funds all this, and the industry tells them what they want them to know, and then they hand it down to us. And it's not the best for us. It's the best for profits.
Yes.
Right. And when you understand that, then the whole game changes.
Yes. And that's the part that I think it's so good that as this is playing out, the Great Awakening, as I call it, right? As we all call it, that we're now not only dropping the curtain on the wizard, we're dropping the curtain on the entire production.
That's right.
And that's really been not only eye-opening, but I mean, it kind of, there's a comfort level. Because I think some of us really knew deep down that we were being taught wrong things.
I knew years ago, and I went to a doctor, cardiologist. He's trying to get me on cholesterol medication. And I said, why? And he says, because your family all had it. I said, doesn't mean I do. And
that's right.
And he's pushing and pushing and pushing. Finally, I said, can I do this test? Because this test, I think it's an amino something that tests for hereditary in cholesterol. I did the test. It came back like 20 out of 100. And I went back and said, it's not, family oriented. It's not. Why are you telling me to take it? Why didn't you just give me this test so that we could put this to bed instead of me telling you no every year? And he's never asked me since.
Interesting.
And I really don't need to go see him because I have no problems.
Right. Yeah. I think a lot of trained physicians can't really handle second, third tier deep in regards to some of these so-called superficial answers on health. And you can definitely see it right away when they're saying, well, I'm going to put you on high blood pressure medicine because you have high blood pressure. Gee, I can lower my own blood pressure really quick.
I go into the doctor, and every time I go in is 120 over 80, I think, or 60, whatever it is. And you go in, and he says, how do you do that? Your blood pressure is always good. And I said, well, I do it mentally. I don't tell him this, but I do it mentally. So I go in, my blood pressure is always good because I do it myself.
Yeah. Yeah. See, there's definitely a lot of truth to that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Awesome. Okay. So we're coming up a little past an hour, and I'm going to start I'm going to throw you a couple of questions just to kind of get your knowledge and your feedback to this. Okay. So the first one, let's go here, is the technology of light and lasers. Have you ever heard of hard laser technology, which is being able to create matter out of light? For instance, turning on a switch, a table appears, sit down, have lunch, finish, turn off the light, table's gone.
Well, I've done some reading on lasers, and I know that when the laser's watched, it is very tight, and when it's not watched, it splays out in all directions. And that's a test that was done, and it's been done years ago. And that, I think it was 30 years ago I saw that, and that really changed my life, because when your energy of looking at it can change something to what you expect it to be, even though you don't know you expect it to be. And then when you look away, it's something different. That's my experience with laser. And that's where I realized that everything is not the way it appears.
Right.
And pretty much anything's possible. So to create a table and then have it disappear doesn't surprise me.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. That's interesting that you could, by looking at something, your intention moved it.
That's right. Your expectation.
Because
you're told that's what a laser looks like.
Wow. That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. Okay. So now here's the other aspect of a question that I'd like to hear your opinion on. I study Kung Fu and Qigong several years with a master named Paulie Zink. And Paulie Zink is an individual that just incredible artist, performance and sense of self and discipline. And his way of who he became was through a traditional system of Tai Chi Pakwa, which is monkey kung fu. And he was teaching me this. And then when we got on the topic of automobile, because he's a big fan of, cars and building them and fiddling around with it. And at that time I had a 1980 CJ5 Jeep. So, it's one of those old time Jeeps that you can get in and work on carburetors and all that good stuff.
Yeah.
And I asked him point blank, I says, okay, so when the car is off, it's just parts.
Mm-hmm.
But when you turn the sucker on and then the engine's firing and the energy's going, is it alive?
Right.
And he says, yeah, in a lot of sense, that is also artificial intelligence. That is actually the first time I actually heard something in our world being described as intelligence that is not biological, but artificial. So care to share your comment on that perspective?
Yeah, my perspective on that is that we're all connected, energetically, frequency and energetically. And my opinion is we all agree on what we're looking at because we're in bodies. We see what we all agree we're seeing. This is an example of that because it's an expectation that we all expect, right?
Yeah.
And when you start breaking away from that and you start seeing beyond it, then everything looks different. And that's part of what I've been trying to talk to you about here. When you go inside and you open yourself up, things look different. You see things in different ways, similarly to what AI may be doing, seeing things in different ways, but we're doing it organically. And that's my experience of it. I know that, a vehicle is a bunch of parts until something goes through it, like our blood. It's a gasoline that turns it on and makes it go.
Right.
Because if it didn't have gasoline, nothing would happen. If we didn't have blood, we'd be gone also.
Right. And have you noticed that, when you loan your car out to someone, they drive it to come back, you sit in it, it feels different?
Yeah. And if I get in the exact same car of what I have, it doesn't feel like the car I've been driving.
Now, is that our hallucination, imagination? Or is that
know what?
something actually happened?
I just, I don't know, but my opinion is that if I drive a vehicle all the time, my energy is in there, and I'm one with the car, especially if it's a 6-speed, because then you're really one with the car.
Yeah.
And when you get in another car, you're not one with that car yet. It's going to feel differently.
Yeah. Yeah. I agree with that 100%.
Yeah.
That's fantastic. Bruce, it's been so amazing to speak with you on this topic, and we can go on even deeper and deeper. Love to have you back. Well, would love to dive deeper into energy because there's just so much I think we're still not paying attention to, and there's so many people out there suffering unnecessarily because of it.
And they are, and I've seen some people helped because they've realized that.
Yeah.
So there's proof that it helps.
Yeah, absolutely. So you have a book that's coming out soon.
I do.
And this is the AI human paradox.
That's right. And I'm working on the bibliography now, which is the hardest part of the book. Next book, I think I'll do the bibliography when I write the book.
There you go. And you have a website. Yes,
it's theaihumanparadox.com.
Yep.
And you can pre-order the book on that.
Great. And you do coaching and counseling for business, right?
I do. In fact, I'm advising a new security company right now that's coming out. It's a totally different platform than what's out there now. Yeah. I call it the blockchain of security, where it's impenetrable and it can cover everything instead of just certain pieces.
Fantastic.
Yeah, it's exciting.
Yeah, God. So AI is here to stay. Would you agree? It's not.
I agree. Away. It's not going anywhere.
So as I've talked with Josh before on that, is that the Pandora's box is opened. Nothing's going back in.
So it's not going back in. It's just going to keep growing.
Yeah.
Keep expanding.
And what would be your words of wisdom to those people that's still not willing to participate?
I would say that, at some point you're going to have to participate, and you may be participating if you have a cell phone. There's AI in your cell phone. You may be participating and you may not realize it. So And those people that are participating, just make sure you retain yourself and don't let the technology overcome you. Just let it enable you, not overcome you.
Yeah. Fantastic. Thank you so much for your words of wisdom. And again, thank you so much for joining me on the inaugural voyage for me on the conversation on the Fringe. It's been fantastic. I loved our conversation.
Thank you, Jeff. I did too. I thoroughly enjoyed it, and I hope to come back again soon.
Yeah. And everyone out there, thank you so much for tuning in. Make sure you like and subscribe, leave us comments, all that good stuff. Support redpills.tv. And I hope you have a fantastic weekend. I'll see you on the next episode.
I don't have to tell you things are bad. Everybody knows things are bad. The air is unfit to breathe, and our food is unfit to eat. I don't know what to do about the depression and the inflation. I want you to get mad.
I have come here to chew bubblegum and kick ass. And I'm all out of bubblegum.
People should not be afraid of their governments. Governments should be afraid of their people.
The more you fuck around, the more you're going to find out.
These people are still a part of that system, and that makes them our enemy.
We accept the reality of the world with which we're presented. It's as simple as that.
I want you to get up right now and go to the window, open it, and stick your head out and yell, I'm as mad as hell, and I'm not going to take this anymore!